Sure. Sorry.
I think we are live, right?
I think so. We are, yes, we are live. Well, happy Sunday live. Sorry for the delay, everyone. Google and Zoom were giving me some issues, but we are live. And hi. Hi, we did it. We made it. We got these technical issues all worked out. But hi,
Yes.
Gordana. How are you?
Hi, Lucas, and happy Sunday, everyone joining us today.
Yeah.
I'm good. This is a beautiful autumn day here, so I am enjoying it very much in
I love it.
Sweden. And
I
you
love
are in the US and probably enjoying the same thing. You said just a minute ago that you had a warm day today.
Yeah, it cooled down to the low 90s here, which is
Okay.
nice in Texas.
That's nice in
Oh,
Texas. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah. So we are going to talk about a topic that is very dear to you and me, Lucas. And it has to do with how to break free from traumas from our past lives. And we've been dwelling in that for a long time, you and me. We've created a course.
That's right.
For you that are interested, you can go to undoyourpast.com and you'll find the course over there. As I said, we have been dwelling a lot in this, and we like to share some things today with you dealing with how to break free from past life, not past life trauma, but
Well,
traumas from your past. But
yeah,
it
no,
could be
totally.
from past lives too, because it's a
Totally.
question. Yes, exactly. It's a question of how you are dealing with whatever the energy is in your life right now. So
That's
if
right.
it's a past life trauma or if it's just a trauma from your past, it actually doesn't matter. It's the same energy affecting you
That's
right
right.
now. So
That's right.
we want to talk a little bit about that actually. So
Yeah.
yeah.
It's I think we've talked about this course a couple times over the years. I mean,
Mm,
we spent hundreds of hours producing
yes.
this course. So it's been a lot of time, effort, energy, but also just to honor the power of this course. We know that this is going to be this is going to have a massive impact on every person
Mhm.
because it's had a massive impact on us going through it ourselves. And I think,
Yes.
there's this when people don't have hope that things can change, that's where
Mhm.
all the low frequency depression and
Yes.
despair and dread and giving up on vision and all the very low vibrational states that people can get in. But this
Mhm.
course not only offers hope, but actually we walk everyone through how to
Mhm.
do it. It's not just theory. This is a very
Mhm.
transformational course that we walk everyone through.
Yeah, I mean, there are many steps in this, but the main thing is that we actually want people to get free from this, to not have to go back and dwell in the past for years and years and decades even.
Right.
What we want to do with this course, or what we are doing with the course, is to actually look at the things that affect you in the now moment and how to change that wherever you are with whatever you have.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's the main thing, because you can spend your life going back, going through the traumas, going through the memories, going through the pain, and never ever releasing it, never ever letting it go,
Right.
because it has become a part of your identity. And through our course, you actually learn that it isn't a part of your identity, it's a part of your story, but you can always change your story, you can
Right.
always change the narrative. So I think it's important to look at that. And I mean, there are several steps, but I think that today we can focus on three of them. And one of them is to own your story. Maybe you can make me the host and I'll
Yeah.
share an
Absolutely.
image.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
And this is so crucial because if we don't own our story, then someone else is owning our story.
Without a doubt. I mean, here, the first part of it is to own your story and to recognize that the past is a part of your story, but it absolutely doesn't define who you are today,
Mm,
because you do. You define who you are today. Now, how do you do that? Well, you have to become very aware of your frequency, very aware of your experience, very aware of your where your awareness is, to
mm,
become more aware. In order to own your past, you have to acknowledge what happened to you, but then not let it define you and who you are here. If it is defining you in the now moment, then it is the trauma speaking. It is not the real you
right.
speaking. You are speaking through a filter of trauma. And it's just a filter. It's not your skin. It's a filter. So you can always remove it and put another filter in. So it's a question of acknowledging what happened to you, but being aware of that it isn't who you are. It's just a story that you went through
Yeah.
as a child or wherever it, even if you're a grown up having traumas, you can still have memories that affect you, like being in a car accident and then you don't dare to go into a car. Changing that narrative, changing your story gives you that power.
Yes.
The second thing that we also, oh, Lucas, you wanted to say
Yeah,
something?
I just wanted to say, yeah, I went through this experience with rewriting a story recently of my own past where I was 7 years old and I was and this really happened. I mean, this
Mhm,
experience, and um, I got chased in the home and I got beat. And the the experience I've gone, I've had many of those type of experiences, but this one
mhm,
was incredibly scary for me. And so I identified it as scary. And then I I had someone ask me, well, what would you wish that person would have done? And I'm like, well, what do you
mhm,
mean? They're like, just for a second, what do you wish instead of what they did? What do you wish they would have done? So I said, well, I wish they would have asked how I was doing. I wish that, they would have
mhm,
asked, hey, do you want to go? And I said, go
mhm,
fishing because I like to fish. And hey, do you want to?
mhm,
And it was an incredible experience rewriting it, but also I had this I had this conflict inside me because I didn't want to betray myself. I felt
mhm,
like if I own that story and rewrite it, then in some way it's betraying that I actually went through that and I survived and this is who I am today. And I'll just make this brief, is that I realized it's not betraying myself, it's actually honoring myself, and that I am so powerful.
mhm,
We are all so powerful, each and every one of us,
mhm,
and we can't rewrite the narrative until we own fully that
mhm,
story. So that's what I
mhm.
wanted to say there.
Yeah, for me, owning your story has a different dimension because I hid my story. I did not talk about what I was experiencing in my home because it didn't match who I was in school, who I was later on in life, who
Mm,
I was at my workplace. I was always hiding that story. And as long as you're hiding it, it becomes like a shadow. You don't own it. The
yeah,
shadow owns you. So you can't move forward. It's when I started talking about it and telling people what had happened to me that I felt like I owned the story. But even more when I realized that all of that is just a story. I don't need to have it as a driving force in my life. I really don't need that. As
yeah,
long as I can acknowledge it, I can look at it from a higher perspective and say, well, okay, my parents did not know how to do better. And I know that this might trigger a lot of people, but it doesn't matter. They did not know, and I can't change that.
yeah,
So it's not beneficial for me to sit there and I don't know, be angry or whatever it is. It's more beneficial to say, this happened to me, and here I am. This
yeah.
is who I am. I own it. When I own it, it becomes a power in me. When I'm hiding it and not owning it, it becomes something that drives me from my subconscious mind, and it will not put me in a place where I want to be.
Mm,
Now, the second thing that we're talking, and you touched upon it, is to rewrite the narrative. And actually, it's a question of taking back your power. It's not
right,
like rewriting the narrative and lying to yourself, finding, stories that are positive if they're not.
right.
It's not about that. rewriting your narrative or the narrative of the story has to do with taking your power back, because it has to do with shifting the focus from what happened to you to
Mm,
how you overcame it. And I think our course is very, very centered around that.
yes,
What happened to you are facts. And you can't trick your mind and say, well, it didn't actually happen this way. What happened to you, that's facts.
that's right.
But another fact is that you actually survived and that you're actually breathing right now and you're doing the course with us. You're listening to this Sunday live with us and you're interested in this. This means that you actually overcame it.
Right.
How did you overcome it? Now that's the story you want to tell,
Mm,
not what happened to you. You want to tell the story of how you overcame it. Because if you focus on what happened to you, the perpetrators own the narrative, and the one that owns the narrative actually owns the power, has the
that's right.
power over you. So if
100%.
you focus, yes, exactly. And if you focus on how you survived, how you overcame it, you own the story and you own the power. You literally take back the power from the perpetrators when you tell your story. And your story is not about the facts that they were there and what time it was, what year it was, what building you were in. Yes, those are facts. But the fact is that you overcame it. And the fact that is invisible, embedded in the entire story, is how you overcame it.
Mm, that's
So
beautiful.
that's one of the most important parts, I think, to not lie, because for me it's really hard. Affirmations do not work for me unless I truly believe in them. So
100%.
I can't lie to myself. It feels awkward and strange. So
Yeah.
this is why I feel like you have to believe in what it is that you're looking at. And everybody has a story of how they overcame it.
Mm,
Even if you're in a bad place right now, you're still breathing and you're still active and you're still looking for the truth. Otherwise, you wouldn't be on this Sunday Live with us.
that's right. That's right. I wrote this the other day. I said exactly what you're saying. Be not afraid of the bully, nor of their tactics, for the very fact they exist shows you how powerful of a contrast you really are.
Mhm.
Meaning, yes, the perpetrator did all those things. Yes, those things happened. Yes, and they were horrible and they were brutal and they were excruciating and traumatizing. And yes, the tape is replayed. And yes, the story has been told. And the fact that you still are here, breathing,
Mhm.
conscious, awake, on the
Mhm.
path of your own healing shows that you were more powerful than every single thing that you went through. We are.
With yes,
That's
without a doubt. And
yes.
that's the thing. How do you focus on that? I think that is what you need to learn. That's the new skill to learn. You
Right.
can, any memory, you can choose to look at any memory. And if you know the skill, if you know how to look at the memory, you also know how to pan for the gold in it. And the gold is always, what did I do to survive? What did I do to overcome this? That's the gold, and that's the story that you need to be telling.
Right.
And when you start telling that story, even the dark facts that there was a perpetrator, that you were in pain, they become easier to talk about because you already know that there is no pain left in them because you are here and you survived.
That's right.
And it's such a powerful technique to do this. It's almost like looking at paradoxical images and seeing one thing when you're focused on it, and then switching your brain and looking at something totally different, which is embedded in the picture, but you couldn't see it before. You have to consciously tell yourself, I'm looking for the other pattern in the picture, and then you can see it.
Yes.
It's like
Yes.
it is invisible to you. All the gold is invisible as long as you're focused on what happened to you.
Hmm.
So shifting to how did you survive it is crucial in this.
Hmm. I don't know how this is
And
relevant, but I want to share a story that just happened this morning. Um,
can
oh yeah.
maybe we can maybe I can stop sharing and you can become the host again.
Okay. Yeah,
Okay.
sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
All right.
so I finished the movie Braveheart with my son. and we watched it
Mm-hmm.
for the first time together this morning.
Mm-hmm.
And there was this scene where the old Scottish warrior, and he had his son, the big redheaded guy, and who was William Wallace's best friend in the movie. At the end, the dad's dying, and he tells his son, I'm dying, and he's like, I don't want you to die, and
Mm-hmm.
he's like, I've lived long enough to be free and watch you to become and watch you turn into the man that you are today. And
Mm-hmm.
it's so touching. Well, I used to get really emotional because I wish I had a dad like that to say that to me,
Mm-hmm.
but it was a complete story reversal where I'm sitting there with my
Mm-hmm.
son, and then I was like, man, I actually get to be that man to this little boy that's going to grow up someday. And it was
Mm-hmm.
very emotional. Colin looks at me, he's like, are you crying? I was like,
Mm-hmm.
it's just such a beautiful, I just said, this is such a beautiful
Mm-hmm.
scene. And
Mm-hmm.
that's the
Flip.
reframing and the flipping, and
Mm-hmm.
and it takes, I think ultimately, and this course is so powerful because it just offers a different perspective on ourselves. It shines a light differently, and the
Mm-hmm.
shadow that was there that obstructed all that
Mm-hmm.
was there kind of removes itself because
Mm-hmm.
light shine differently. And when we can get perspective, everything changes. It
Without
does.
a doubt. Yes. It's like a shift in perspective. You don't, it's not like a higher, it's a shift in perspective where
Yeah,
you are able to see things that are beneath the surface.
that's right.
Those, it's the golden nuggets that I'm talking about, like
Yeah,
seeing them. How did you survive? What did you do in order to survive? And when you can do that, you tap into your own power because that is your power. How
yeah,
did you deal with it? I mean, if you were a child and you're breathing today watching this course, then that child was intelligent enough to save you.
yeah, yeah.
And that child lives within you. And as long as you're focused on what happened to you, that child is living in a cave. It cannot show you the power it had to save you in that moment. But what you were talking about, the movie and the flipping, going from needing that affirmation to understanding that you are supposed to give that affirmation to
Yeah,
your son.
yeah,
To me, it sounds like the ancestral um, trauma that is passed on to the children. And where we are today, we are in a point in time where we can break that. All of us that are seeking to release ourselves from the energetic bonds from our past, the bad energetic bonds from our past. It's like breaking ancestral trauma because it ends with you.
that's
You
right.
do not
Right.
transfer it over to your child.
That's right.
For me, that was a big aha moment when my son was born, and I'm thinking, this stops with me. I
Mm,
have to be brutally honest to myself. I actually want to read a quote by Anton Chekhov, which touches upon this. It's a little bit harsh, but we can talk about it afterwards. Uh, Here's what it says. To this day, I have deceived others and myself. I have suffered for it, and my suffering was cheap and vulgar. I am glad that I can see my faults clearly, that I am conscious of them. This will help me to reform and become a different man. And he writes this in his book, The Duel.
mm,
Now, it's not about guilt tripping yourself. It's about being brutally honest and understanding that when you are focused on what happened to you, you will see the darkness. You will allow the perpetrator to write your story. And
mm,
the filter that will be between you and the reality right now in front of you will be put there by the perpetrator, and it's deceiving you. You will not be able to see reality as it is. You will be seeing reality as the perpetrator wanted you to see it as a
right.
child.
Right.
And that's where the deception is. That's where you are deceiving yourself. If you're looking at it from a perspective, a victimhood perspective, you are deceiving yourself and you're deceiving others too, because the truth here is that you cannot be you are not born a victim. It is something that is put on you.
Yes.
So if you're looking for the truth, you have to go within, finding that core of truth within you, and knowing that the victim is a part of a narrative, a part of your story, but it is not who you are. So if you
Mm,
want to find who you are, you're looking for the survival, you're looking for what you did in order to be who you are today.
yes.
That is the truth. And
Yeah,
that's where the deception is. If you believe the facts that it was that day, this person, that happened to me, and I can't free myself from it because that is the truth, that's just a part of the truth.
that's right. I think the difference is if your story starts with they
Mm-hmm.
versus our story starting with I.
Mm-hmm.
They did this happened, they
Mm-hmm.
or I experienced
Mm-hmm.
all these things and I'm here today. I've
Mm.
gone through the fire, I've stood in the fire, I've stood in the pain,
Yes, as a
suffering.
child.
Yes, and I am here today versus they did this to me. And I'm only
Mm.
sharing this because I was in a they mode for a very long time in my life,
Mm.
trying to prove that I was good enough, smart enough, articulate enough, studied enough, consumed enough, spiritual enough,
Mm-hmm.
all these things just to validate because they hurt me so deeply. They wounded me, the betrayals, the pain, the
Mm.
suffering. And I'd always say they
Mm.
in some form. It was always he or
Mm.
she or they, in particular.
Mm.
It was never I went through these things. I've chosen and my inner child
Mm-hmm.
working with you, that was a
Mm-hmm.
massive understanding of the shift between they versus I, victim versus sovereign.
Yes, I love that. I love
Yeah,
that because it's an enormous shift in it. When you're focused on they, you're focused on what I was talking about, what happened to
yeah,
you. But when you're focused on you, you're focusing on how you managed it. That doesn't mean that you forget what happened to you.
right.
That doesn't mean that you diminish the pain that you went through because the pain sometimes is immense and you have to acknowledge that it was there, but don't get stuck in it. Because if you're experiencing pain from the past, you're actually experiencing it in the now moment. And
Mm,
if there is nothing to create that pain, well, then it's created within you, which means that there is a narrative, there is a story that is regulating your emotions in it. And you
mm,
can be present and say, yes, that happened to me, but I survived. What did I do to survive?
right.
And that's also how you come into the third thing that we need to talk about
Yeah.
before we go, because today is going to be a shorter version of our Sunday Live. We're going to talk for 40 minutes, or we have maybe 10 minutes left or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. And
But
I just made you host. If you want to share, you can.
yeah, the last picture. Yeah, of course. Here it is. So create new experience. This
Mm,
is very important. You can't start with creating new experiences unless you own your story and unless you've taken your power back by going from they to I.
yes.
So, how do you create new experiences? And it sounds like rocket science, and it's not. It is very easy. You simply look for the joy in your life.
Mm,
You focus on actions that will bring you joy. And it's important to underline actions here because you can focus on joy but not do anything about it, and you will stay in suffering.
mm,
Without a doubt, you will stay in suffering. So, focusing on actions is the most important part. So, for me, I was, and I can go back again. If you can, yeah.
yeah.
All right. So, for me, it was like this. I could focus so much on what happened to me and being in this victimhood state that it became almost as an excuse not to succeed. It
Mm,
became an excuse, or I would rather put it like this, it was stalling. Like I would stall. I would say, well, I can't do that because I had a horrible childhood and it's okay because I feel so bad about that. So I can't focus right now, or I can't be my best version because I was the victim, and I would feel sorry for my victim. I would feel sorry for myself and wanting someone from the outside to either change something for me or save me from it, which
Mm,
is very disempowering to be in that place. So instead, I think without stalling, without going back, without dwelling on the past, being in the now moment and saying, okay, so what do I need to do in order to feel good right now?
mm,
That's a very strange concept for someone who has been abused as a child. That's a really strange concept to sit there and say, so what do I want to do? How do I make myself happy? It's like unknown territory.
yeah.
It was unknown territory for me. I did not know how to do that. But that is actually what you need to do in order to create new experiences. You have to know what you want and then act on it, not make excuses like I can't do that. I
Mm,
can give you an example. To stand on stage speaking in front of hundreds of people is scary. Coming from a place where I came, where I couldn't even utter words in my home because my father wouldn't approve of them, I had to watch myself. That's a really scary place. And it would stop me from doing that, which I love to do. It would stop me from going on stage because I was the victim.
mm,
I was a victim in my childhood. I couldn't speak. I wasn't allowed to speak. I was punished when I expressed my opinions. And here I am walking on stage expressing my opinions.
mm,
And this would stop me. I would dwell in this. I would work through this. I would create in workshop after workshop, never doing them because I was afraid of doing them. The only way to get through this is to go through the pain, go through the fear, and act on it. So if
mm,
I know that I love something, I need to act on it before the victim gets a grip on me and pulls me back and shows me, look, this happened to you. It's okay if you don't want to do this because I understand that you're afraid,
mm.
and it stops you. It stops you. So the now moment, and it's all about the now moment in my book. The now moment is the only thing that exists. The
Mm.
past is created in your mind, and the future is a projection of that creation.
Yes. Yes.
So in the now moment, you have to be willing to sacrifice your ego and say, yes, I was a victim, but this is what I like to do. This is where I want to go.
Mm,
I'm no longer a victim because I survived it. That's the new story.
right.
And from that space, you project a new future.
That's
And you
right.
can, yeah, and you have to do it by acting on it. You can't do it by thinking about it. You have to act on it,
Right.
create new experiences, have that as a mantra. Sorry, as a mantra, I am creating new experiences for me
Right.
because those experiences become memory.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And for me, going through the process, stepping into my own power, finding
Mhm,
my own voice, and expressing that fully without fear of
mhm,
reprisal, without fear of threat, intimidation, worry,
mm.
was the very first time I really understood self love.
Yes.
I think there's this narrative of self love, and it is so foreign to people who go through trauma as children because, like, what is that? How? I don't know how. I have no idea
Exactly.
how to love myself
Mm,
conceptually because there's no modeling of that
mm,
until we take those actions like you're talking about. And then
mhm,
when I first took that action, when I first spoke my truth, when I first stood in my power and shared my
mhm.
story, I was so
TED
proud of
Talk.
myself. Yeah, on my TED Talk.
Mhm, mhm,
I was so proud of myself. I to this day, that
mhm,
was 5 years ago, and to this day, I've never, and
mhm,
it's only grown, but I really understood. I was proud of myself. No one did it for me. No one, uh, there was no external validation I was looking for the first time in my life because I took action, like you're saying.
Mm, mm,
I was proud of myself and I understood self-love in a way that I'd never known. And it's only continued from then, and that point. And
mm,
I think there's a few ways that we take action. We take action to prove we're not
mhm,
that things happen to us, or we can face it, own our story. We can rewrite our past, and then we can take action to show ourselves who we are, not who we're
mm,
not. And that's that perspective shift. It's not
mm,
higher planes, it's just a different path forward. And I want all of humanity, all of us collectively, to heal in this way so that there is no more victimhood on this planet. There is no more
mm,
trauma-based stories, that we all move as a collective into this space where we own that we were the most powerful person in our story, no matter what happened to us, no matter what
mhm,
traumatic darkness was presented to us. We are here. Therefore, we were stronger than that. And to rewrite that and tell
mm,
that story. I
mm.
said, my God, I can picture the world. It's so good. It's good.
But
Yeah.
we can picture the world that way, but it has to do with doing it one person at a time. And that's our goal, doing it one person at a time. And it seems easier that way too, because then you can do it in your own pace. You can do it the way you wanted to feel and
Yeah.
experience things. You can do it your way, and that's the most important part. But I do agree with you. It's a question of perspective. It's a question of shifting it in a easy way to understand that you don't need to lie to yourself. You don't need to erase any memories. They're still there, but
Yes.
you're looking for your survival mechanism, your survival, your method of survival. That is what you're looking for.
That's
And when
right.
you find that, that's the golden story. You might feel sorry for the child because you will see how the child had to work.
Right. That's
But
right.
that is okay. You can feel sorry for the child as long as you are the one feeling sorry for the child, as long as you are not being in victimhood, feeling sorry for yourself.
Right.
That's a big difference. When you feel sorry for the child within you, you're actually aligned with the higher self. You
Mm,
are looking at your human, you're looking at your humanness and seeing it and giving love to your human when you're
yes.
doing that. That
Yeah.
is self-love for me. It took me years to, get that. When people
Yes.
say you just have to love yourself more,
Right.
how? I don't know how that is.
No
For
idea.
me, it's always been about forgiving myself every time I interpret the world through my trauma ego.
Mm,
Forgiving myself for every time I do that.
mm.
Because when you interpret the reality from your trauma ego or your trauma self,
Right.
you will make perpetrators of people who are not perpetrators in your life. And that's when you wake up from it, you see that that was wrong and you feel bad, and
Right.
it adds to the shame and guilt.
Mm,
Stopping it from adding to the shame and guilt and becoming more present in it and say, okay, that was my 6-year-old seeing this. That's not how reality works.
yeah.
And shifting it, that's the forgiveness. That is self-love to me, when I am able to see what the heck did I do right now? Why did I do this? And then come back to it, see it, forgive myself, and then ask for forgiveness to the person that I made into a perpetrator who
Mm,
are not, because they were just playing a role that I got inflicted upon me when I was a child.
yeah. Yeah. That's right.
So it's a question of, being able to navigate in this world, and it's always happening in the now moment. So what you and I shared today is you just remembering, just knowing that owning your story is to not let it define who you are today, not let your past define who you are today.
Right.
Getting your power back is all about going back in it, looking at the incident and not just looking at what happened to you, but how you survived it. That's how you get your power back. That's how you rewrite your story.
Right.
And the third step we were talking about is to actually be willing to sacrifice your ego when it starts pulling you back and being willing to create new experiences without that filter,
Yeah.
looking at the world through a new filter.
Right.
Like, I survived this. I'm really strong.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
That's the new filter.
So powerful and it's so
Yeah.
empowering. And everyone, watching this, I hope you know, Gordana and I love you. Like we really love
Yes, we do.
people. That is like one of the things. And this course, I cannot stress enough. I recommend everyone signing up. This is not to sell anything. This is to get everyone the access to something that I just see like we're giving a key to the lock of people's hearts and they didn't know where the key was. And that's why we call the course key memories, because there are locks and we sometimes just don't know how, no one can do surgery on themselves. This is one of the things that I've like come to the conclusion where in my past as the victim, I tried to do everything myself. I didn't need anyone. I can do it. And, no, thank you. And
Mhm.
but now I'm like, why would I want to do everything myself? I love people. I want to be in community. I want to learn from others. And
Mhm.
we cannot perform surgery on ourselves. And there are times
Mhm.
when we cannot get the key to unlock things in ourselves unless we have someone else's help. Why guides, coaches, um, others are so important. So I cannot stress enough. I recommend everyone going to undoyourpast.com, sign up, and then give us feedback. We love there,
Yes,
more stories of come on this Sunday live, share your story of how it impacted you. Because I have no doubt in my mind, I have no question that it will massively impact your life.
me too. I couldn't have said it better myself. So absolutely necessary to do this. If you want to create something new in your life, if you want to, actually, it's not about creating something new. It's actually about easing some pain.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because when you ease the pain, you heighten your frequency, and all of a sudden, there are possibilities in your reality. You can't always control that, but easing the pain, understanding yourself, easing the pain is what it's all about. Without, dwelling in the past, doing things over and over and over again, it's not what we're talking about. It's a question of seeing the pattern and being willing to change the pattern.
Mm, yeah.
That's all.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Thank you for this beautiful live. Everyone, undoyourpast.com.
.com.
Doyourpast.com. And we'll see you all next on the next Sunday live.
Yes, we will. And please share your stories with us.
Yes. Yeah.